So I hung the uniform up and moved to Atlanta, Georgia. In Atlanta, I moved into a very swank singles complex that had just been built there called the Riverbend Apartments. On the application for the lease, there were many questions. One of them was occupation. I began to write down airline pilot, but the next question said employed by, supervisor's name, telephone contact. I thought to myself, I'll need to come up with something that would be impossible to check out, yet something that would justify why I drive an expensive car, wear expensive clothes, don't work much. So I wrote down the word doctor. First thing came to my mind, nothing else, but I had a very inquisitive apartment manager. Oh, I see here you're a doctor. Yes, ma'am. What type of doctor are you? Well, I'm a medical doctor. However, I'm not practicing medicine right now. I left my practice out in Los Angeles to come to Atlanta to invest in some real estate I have. How interesting. Well, tell me, what type of medical doctor are you? And I figured being a singles complex, pediatrician would be pretty safe. So I moved in, Dr. Frank Williams, pediatrician. Everybody called me Doc, always a typical question. So Doc, where'd you go to medical school? Columbia University in New York. Where'd you serve your internship? Harvard Children's Hospital, out in LA. Once in a while when the guys would come by, hey Paul, hey Doc, look at my leg. I don't know what I did to it. Paul, I can't look at your leg. You need to go to your own doctor, have him look at that. One of the girls came by, I always gave them a thorough examination, sent them on their way. I was young, but not stupid. I was living there for about 2 or 3 months. Everything was going great. One afternoon, there was a knock on the door. A very distinguished gentleman, mid-50s, standing there. Yes, sir, can I help you? Yes, you, Dr. Williams? Yes? My name's Gordon. Just moved in the apartment below. Wanted to come up and introduce myself. Oh, new neighbor. Come on in. I'm not only a new neighbor, understand you're a pediatrician. Yes, I'm the chief resident pediatrician of the county hospital up the street. Dr. Gordon was going through a divorce, just separated from his wife, who was very upset, very lonely, loved to talk. Every day on the way to the car, out to the pool, he'd stop you. After a minute or two about the weather, he'd start to speak in medical terminology. Obviously, I couldn't converse with him, so I, in turn, would cut him short. Eventually, I knew he'd get suspicious, so determined not to move. Every day I went to Emory University's medical library. Every day I read the daily journals from Johns Hopkins, from the Mayo Clinic. Every day I would take a certain part of the journal, memorize it. And every night when Dr. Gordon pulled in his parking slot, I was sitting on his doorstep, literally, every night. Hey, Doc, hear about this new theory they're using up at Mayo? What is it tonight? And I'd follow him into his apartment. I knew he was aggravated. If he'd go in his bedroom, sit on the bed, I'd go in his bedroom, sit on the corner of the bed. If he'd go in the kitchen, I'd follow him back and forth. Go to the bathroom, I'd talk through the door. Pretty soon he'd come home. Hey, Doc, I don't have time to talk to you right now. I got to go. Guys started to avoid me, which is exactly what I wanted. One afternoon, I received a phone call from the hospital administrator, who was not a physician, but the administrator of the hospital. Dr. Gordon suggested I give you a call. He said you'd be more than happy to help us out. What's the problem? On the midnight day shift, I have a resident, supervised a number of interns, nurses on his shift, just been notified of a death in his family, returning to the West Coast tomorrow for about 10 days. Georgia law requires a resident doctor, house doctor on duty, be a full practitioner. Dr. Gordon suggested you had a great deal of full free time. You'd be more than happy to come down and cover the shift in an administrative capacity. There's no way I could do that. Why not? Well, I'm not licensed to practice medicine in the state of Georgia, just the state of California. All the red tape for 10 days? No red tape. We'll bring it before the medical review board tomorrow morning. They'll issue a temporary certificate. You can start tomorrow night. Now, being one who hates to pass up a challenge, I couldn't help but give it a shot. So I went down to the hospital. During my entire 2 weeks there, no one ever doubted for a second I was not a doctor. When the doctor returned, I left. I did pass the bar in the state of Louisiana, not in 2 weeks as the movie implied, but in 8 weeks. Louisiana at the time did not require a law degree to take the bar. Louisiana, of course, practices their law under the French Napoleonic Criminal Code of Procedure, as they did then and do today. I took the bar, passed the bar. I went to work for then Attorney General P.F. Grimion in the Civil Division of the State Court, where I practiced law there for almost a year before, on my own, I resigned and left.